It's Professional Wellness Month. Professional wellness is observed every June, and it's intended to highlight the importance of physical, mental, social, and emotional well-being in the workplace. It encourages employers and employees alike to prevent burnout, establish healthy boundaries, and create environments where people can function and flourish without sacrificing themselves in the process. And I think that's a conversation we desperately need because somewhere along the way, we've confused wellness with self-care. Not that self-care is bad. I enjoy a massage. I appreciate good coffee and quiet afternoons with a book. Some people recharge through golf weekends or fishing trips or tinkering in the garage. Others recharge through manicures and spa days. None of those things are bad, of course. But over the last several years, life has given me an object lesson that has completely changed the way I think about stress, recovery, and professional wellness. I'm sharing the house story. 3 years ago, I moved into my current house when I accepted a clinical director and director of family services role in a residential treatment facility. About a year later, I noticed that the foundation of the house was beginning to come up through the floor. Like many homeowners, I contacted my insurance company only to have the claim completely denied. Financially, I simply wasn't in a position to address the issue. So for the last couple of years, I've lived with the awareness that underneath everything else, there was a structural problem that needed attention. Then life changed. My sister was widowed and she moved in with me in February. We decided this house would become our age-in-place home, which means we're preparing it for the next chapter of our lives. And suddenly the foundation issue moved from important to non-negotiable. We're getting estimates and planning repairs, but every contractor has essentially said the same thing. Don't replace the flooring first. Don't install new windows first. Don't put in new doors first. Don't upgrade the electrical system first. Fix the foundation. Because everything you build on top of an unstable foundation is vulnerable. And I remember thinking, well, that sounds strangely familiar. High achievers love accessories. One thing I've observed about professionals, including myself, is that we are often very good at adding things. Another planner, another app, another certification, another conference, another supplement, another productivity system, another project, another promotion, another vacation, sometimes another drink, sometimes another distraction. Adding things feels productive. It feels hopeful. It feels like progress. But stress isn't always an effort problem. Sometimes it's a design problem. And eventually every structure reveals its load-bearing capacity. Stress changes more than mood. As a clinician and a person of 35 years of recovery, I've become fascinated with stress because stress changes more than emotions. Research tells us that chronic stress affects sleep, executive functioning, attention, memory, emotional regulation, and even our ability to accurately assess threat. Under prolonged stress, the nervous system becomes increasingly efficient at detecting danger and increasingly inefficient at experiencing peace. Stress changes what we think, how we cope, and eventually how we live. Over time, stress becomes architectural. It influences the entire structure of our lives, which means professional wellness is much more than relaxation. It's about restoring the systems stress has disrupted. Living with a foundation problem is exhausting. And here's something else I've learned from this house. Living with an unresolved foundation issue is draining. Even when I'm not actively thinking about it, I'm still thinking about it. It's consuming bandwidth. It's in the background. It's stealing attention. It's affecting decisions. It's creating uncertainty. And I think many people are living with the psychological equivalent of foundation problems. Burnout, people-pleasing, boundary problems, overfunctioning, perfectionism, emotional exhaustion, unhealthy coping, alcohol, workaholism, and because they're competent, they keep trying to compensate. New flooring, fresh paint, pretty accessories, when what really needs attention is underneath. So let's discuss relief versus recovery. One thing I wish I understand earlier is that relief and recovery are not synonyms. Many high achievers are experts at relief. Achievement provides relief. Shopping provides relief. Planning provides relief. Scrolling provides relief. Alcohol provides relief. Even buying another course provides relief. Relief changes how we feel. Recovery changes how we function. Recovery stores what stress has depleted. Sleep, boundaries, relationships, healthy coping, emotional regulation, values, meaning, purpose. Recovery isn't simply feeling better. Recovery is rebuilding capacity. Burnout is not a character defect or a humble brag. I think burnout has been moralized in unfortunate ways. People talk about burnout as though it reflects weakness, poor resilience, or insufficient gratitude. I don't believe that. Burnout is often the predictable consequence of sustained overextension. Human beings have limits, and our nervous systems pay attention to those limits, whether our ambition does or not. Exhaustion isn't proof of dedication. It's evidence of energy expenditure. Your body doesn't interpret chronic overwork as leadership. It interprets it as stress. But I think there's another problem, especially among professionals and high achievers. We've also learned to wear exhaustion almost like a badge of honor. Sometimes burnout becomes a humble brag. Things are crazy. I'm buried. I haven't had a day off. I worked through vacation. I answered emails on the beach. I was up until midnight finishing that project. And I understand why. Because there are rewards attached to being indispensable. There are rewards attached to competence. There are rewards attached to being the one everyone depends on. Being needed can feel good. Being productive can feel good. Being important can feel good. And eventually, we can start confusing exhaustion with significance. But exhaustion is not evidence of importance. It's evidence of output. And perhaps one of the reasons burnout is so difficult to recover from is that we aren't simply grieving the exhaustion, we're grieving the identity. Because if being overwhelmed has become part of how we understand ourselves, then slowing down can feel strangely threatening. Boundaries can feel selfish. Rest can feel lazy. Delegation can feel irresponsible. And doing less can feel like becoming less. But human beings were never designed to derive their worth from depletion. In fact, one of the most countercultural things a high achiever can learn is this: exhaustion is not excellence, and burnout isn't something to be ashamed of. But it isn't something to aspire to either, because depletion was never meant to be a status symbol. And perhaps one of the goals of professional wellness is learning to stop confusing exhaustion with significance. Not because work doesn't matter, not because contribution doesn't matter, but because sustainable contribution requires sustainable people. And sustainable people require structure. So where does this all leave and lead us? At 60 years old and 35 years sober, I find myself asking a different question than I used to. I used to ask, how do I keep going? These days I ask, what am I building? Because eventually every foundation reveals itself. And perhaps professional wellness isn't really about self-care at all. Perhaps it's about construction. Because sustainable recovery, sustainable change, and sustainable wellness aren't built on willpower. They're built on structure. Ultimately, the goal isn't simply to feel better. It's to build a life capable of supporting the weight of the life you're trying to live. Or maybe, as life has been trying to teach me through both houses and recovery, you repair the foundation first.